Hey everyone, we are back, and today I have Gabe here with us. We're just gonna kind of wait a little bit as more people come and join the stream, and so yeah, I hope everyone's having a good day so far. Gabe, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been
Yeah.
a busy morning and a late night here last night getting prepared for today, but
Okay.
it's been
Okay.
so far so good. I can't
Okay.
complain.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was here with you, and so we both know that we were out at the shop, kind of doing a little tinkering with the new toy that we'll be talking about today.
Sure.
You know, let's start with introduction wise. What do you introduce yourself, Gabe? Like,
So my name is Gabriel. I would be the customer experience manager here at Harvey. So basically my job is, you might have met Sam last week, who is our director, and basically I work directly under Sam and handle any kind of customer inquiries as well as sales. I do some troubleshooting, a bit of technical. So if there's ever anything you need, feel free to reach out, and we're welcome to ask for me directly through our support portal. And I also help with a bit of the technical documentation on the support side. So if you see some of the articles on there, you might see my name on those.
oh, cool. Yeah.
Yep. And then, Hung, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, if you didn't catch me from last stream, my name is Hung. I am the technical director and product specialist for Harvey Industries. My job is to play with all these new toys, make new designs, help influence new designs, help with technical related work from R&D, design, and product documentations to helping with shooting content. I do a little bit of everything, so if it's technical related, you'll probably see me involved in some way or form. Again, today we'll be talking about one of our newest product. Do you want to kind of give us a quick rundown or kind of introduce what the new toy is?
Yeah, so here we've got our new HP-10. This is a Foxtail Convertible Plane. So it's able to take some unique irons right in here.
Yep.
So it comes with a rabbit kit, and then you can...
It comes with the sole kit.
The sole kit.
The shoulder kit, sorry.
Yes,
Yep,
shoulder
yep,
kit, sorry. And then you have options currently for a diet crown.
Which is a diameter crown, a cove, or a crown kit, and then, like you just said, a rabbit kit as well.
Yep.
So there's 3 different types of profiles that you could run on this plane. But out of the box, it will have a shoulder, which is what you kind of see here on display right now. This is a shoulder plane setup, and I'll just kind of set this down. Other things that we will introduce is the different kits or profiles. So let me grab those real quick and kind of show what they include. So this one right here is a crown kit. Do you know what a crown is, Gabe?
Yeah, it's basically like a convex shape that you would add to either a molding or the edge of, say, a bookcase, something that accentuates the edges of something, but it sticks out more rather than a cove, which would be where you're relieving and putting in a kind of concave shape to the
Correct.
the wood.
Okay. Yeah. So this will be the talk of today, which is our HP-10. Again, the purpose of the stream is to help educate, kind of expand everyone's knowledge on woodworking from like terminologies. If you're a beginner or someone who hasn't had much woodworking experience, we hope that our streams can be informative in a way where you learn something about our not just products but woodworking tricks and tips as well. Again, we want to engage with our viewers and our audience to kind of learn and see what questions you may have as well, so that we can again help and teach and learn from each other and build a community where we all learn woodworking. Again, the products is what is helping us to achieve some of those again goals of woodworking. We do need tools to do and make things. Again, topic today will be the HP-10. As you kind of see, we started introducing some of the kits or one of the kits and the plane itself. So we'll kind of talk more about that and kind of show what each of the kits talk about or includes as we get further into the stream. So let's kind of I think there was some sort of deal or promo or something going on today.
Yeah, so
could you give us some,
from the stream right now until 12 o'clock midnight tonight only, we have a code that we've issued that will be good. It's going to be in the comments section. It's HP-10 stream. So if you see that in the comments, if you would like to purchase this off our website, www.bridgecitytools.com, then you can go there, and if you click on the link that we're going to post into the chat, it'll automatically apply the code for you, or you can apply the code at checkout. So if you'd like to purchase this with this promotional discount, you would get an extra 10% off of this product.
And what was that code again? Just one more time?
So it's HP10 Stream.
And I believe we're going to be putting that into the chat. So if you guys need to get that code, check out the live stream chat. You'll definitely see that code. And the code runs till the end of tonight or today?
Till midnight Pacific time. So if you're on the East Coast, it'd probably run a little bit later.
Okay.
But than our Pacific time.
Well, cool. So yeah, let's kind of let's talk a little bit about Bridge City, because everyone probably knows who we are as Harvey, but probably doesn't know that Bridge City Toolworks is also related to Harvey. Let's kind of talk about that a little bit. Do you know anything about like the two companies or how that happened?
Yeah, so John Economaki, he is the founder of Bridge City Tools, and it used to be run in Portland, Oregon, hence the name Bridge City. And so he had started making a chopstick maker jig, and he went to a woodworking convention in China and had met Jack Shu, the founder of Harvey and our current CEO. And when he was demoing it at that fair, it was a really big hit, and a lot of people had a lot of engagement with it. It's a very fun tool to use, so if you haven't seen that, feel free to check out our website, and it's be under Mini Workshop, and you can take a look and see the chopstick maker. We have 2 different generations, but essentially, John had started this jig and met Jack, and Jack had already been running Harvey at that point, and that was when they made a business relationship together to Harvey start manufacturing the chopstick maker Gen 1s back in the day for Bridge City. So that's kind of how they got, intertwined into each other, was that Harvey was actually manufacturing that specific product for them, and then down the line, Bridge City Tools ended up being acquired by Harvey. So that was in 2018?
July 2018, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so in 2018, Harvey acquired them, and you might notice there's some changes to how the products are. Back in the day, they used to have more rosewood, and they were experimenting with a Wara wood at one point, and it was more brass and rosewood or Wara wood. Problem with some of incorporating the wood in it, you would get some corrosion and things like that. So we've kind of gone away from that and more into more stainless steel, aluminum, and those types of metals that
kind of what we see today.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yeah.
So with this one, this is pretty much almost 100% stainless steel here.
It's a stainless steel plane, and again, we'll talk about that a little bit further.
Yeah.
So 2018, that's kind of when I started joining Bridge City. Before that, I was already working with Harvey. But yeah, July 2018, I remember because I was helping with a move and everything from Portland to where we are now, which is Southern California. So yeah, it's a lot of history between the two companies and how we started. Like you said, the Chopstick Master was one of the most iconic thing that brought the two companies together. So again, if you guys want to see the Chopstick Master and how we make chopsticks with this cool Bridge City jig, definitely let us know. We can definitely do that on one of the streams and kind of show you guys. But again, let's kind of go into the main topic today, which is hand planes or planes in general. Let's kind of define what is a hand plane, I guess. When you think of a hand plane, what are you thinking of, Gabe?
Well, a lot of people have larger, mechanical or machine planes, for joiners and planers, that type of nature.
Yeah.
So What a hand plane is essentially a way to get a smooth and even surface while relieving some of the uneven parts of the wood to achieve that very smooth and even surface. So sometimes you might have areas where there's rough grain or sections that you need to clean up or like a bump in the wood. So hand planes are a great way to shave off some material, or we also have a scraper plane for just scraping out slight unevenness.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is that it's like a tool that can remove material and wood to, again, make cuts without the need of a machine per se.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So how would you use like a hand plane then? Let's kind of grab some of the other ones. Like let's grab that one over there. Let's talk about that one real quick, or kind of just give it a little introduction. Here, let me wipe that real quick, or kind of show this one off. We were again working, kind of using some of these tools, so let's kind of show this one off. So here, show me how that one looks, or like how would you use that if you were holding it, proper use, and what is that? Let's start there.
So this would be our HP-12 dual angle bench plane, and it's a larger plane which would be used for covering a larger area.
Correct.
You'd want to use this on something where you had enough of a surface to work with, and having it be longer makes it so that you're able to have the sole actually get each section of this 12 inches basically perfectly flat and smooth with each other. And
so you would use this plane more to work when you're trying to level or flatten like a surface.
Correct.
Going from like a rough surface to more of a smooth surface. You'd probably use this, and probably not this one, right?
No.
Okay. And just to kind of show size comparison wise, we'll just kind of set it right behind that one, just to give everyone a general look of how big or how size wise of the two. If like he mentioned, or like Gabe mentioned, the HP-12 is roughly about a 12-inch from front to back, so this is a relatively big plane in comparison to the HP-10, which is what we'll be talking about today. Another plane that I kind of want to show is the HP-6 FX, which is another plane that we just introduced recently. This one is a multi-plane, so if you ever look at one of these, I'm going to take the fence off real quick and kind of set this on the bench here. But this one is our HP-6 FX multi plane, and this one is very similar. Wouldn't you say that? So, Gabe?
Yeah, we also, this is a multi-plane similar to how the HP-10 is a convertible plane where you can go from it being a rabbet plane, a shoulder plane, doing coves,
yep.
and crowns. So we also do have some cove and crown kits, as well as a dado kit for this one, some V-groove kits, and they come in different sizes. So if you're needing to put some accents on a piece, or you want to explore some of those options, they are all listed on our website as well, and yep. They come in different sizes in millimeters, or the angles that you're going to be able to achieve with that.
Yeah, and I know out of the box for the HP-6 FX, this one comes with a rabbet sole, which is kind of what you guys see here. This is a rabbet sole in comparison to what you'll see on this one, which is a shoulder plane, or shoulder kit. So why I kind of brought a bunch of these tools onto the table is kind of to show that it seems that there's a lot of function or different planes for different types of tasks. Would that be true, or like what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the benefits of having, say, a more narrow cutter on one of these, or an iron, is that it'll stay more balanced when you are just doing the shoulder or the edge of a piece. The bench plane is going to be more so for larger, wider, flat surfaces. The iron on it is a lot bigger, and so different applications entirely from one plane to the next.
Yep, and that's kind of why you see like different people who use planes a lot will have quite a lot of an extensive collection per se. Like they'll have multiple planes, not just one that does
right.
the whole thing.
Kind of a tool for every job.
Yeah, there's like a tool for every job, exactly. Which is why when it comes to the hand planes, you have to have multiple planes. You can't just buy, let's say, the bench plane and do everything you would want. You kind of need other planes that kind of do different
right.
tasks as well.
Yeah, because because of how wide this is, you wouldn't really use this for doing a shoulder unless it was a very, very big one.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, you wouldn't be able to get into a shoulder
Right.
because on a bench plane, if you ever look at the HP-12 bench plane, the body or the sole of it, actually, the iron doesn't protrude all the way up to the edge or the sides of the plane. Versus if you look on a shoulder plane, what the purpose of a shoulder plane is that the iron actually goes flush up to the side of the body, allowing you to be able to get into crevices and get that tight, nice, sharp cut into the corners and so forth. And that's kind of what a shoulder plane is, and also at the same time a rabbet plane as well. So shoulder planes and rabbet planes do have a lot of similarities, but there are some differences with them as well. And we'll kind of talk about the two, and this is kind of why I have both of them here, just to kind of show you or talk a little more about that. Let's kind of dive into the HP-10 Convertible Plane, the one that we'll be talking about today. So let's kind of talk about, I know when we were at the AWFS, we had the opportunity to see and meet John. I've met him before, but I believe that was
my first time
Yeah.
meeting John. He was like a super cool guy. I had a lot of fun talking to him about woodworking and just life in general. He's actually hilarious. He's always cracking jokes
Yep.
and everything. So he's very funny and just I don't know, a pleasure to be around. So definitely feels good to finally meet him when I've seen his photos or heard stories about him,
yeah.
but never really got a chance to talk to him at all. But
John, if you don't know anything about John, John loves to do photography as a hobby. So John still works with us in designing work. So a lot of design work and everything still goes through John. A lot of the quality controls also goes through John. We still work with John, even though he's technically retired, but he still helps us with a lot of the Bridge City design work. So I, will work with him and we talk and communicate to do some of that. The reason why I bring up John is it's, when we were at the show, he talked about the HP-10 and kind of gave like a little story about the HP-10. Do you happen to remember that, or should I tell that?
No, I can tell.
Okay.
So one thing you will see here is that with this plane, it's called a Foxtail plane, and part of that is that actually there's a design in here that has the shape of a fox, and then this would be the tail, the handle here that clamps down. So John was golfing, and one day he saw a fox. I forget what type of fox was it. Did he?
I don't think he mentioned.
So
He just said
apparently
it
he
was
saw a fox running across the course, and it just inspired him. He got this idea that he wanted to incorporate the beauty and the
tail of the fox
into some product, and so that's why he ended up designing this plane, was because he just really enjoyed the look of it and wanted to inspire some beauty into a hand tool. A lot of our products are not only functional, but they specifically try to incorporate as much aesthetic as possible while also maintaining that functionality. So that's a big part of a lot of the tools and products that we create for both Harvey and for Bridge City, is that we want it to not only work well, but we want it to also look awesome at the same exact time. So that way, if you set this down on the shelf and maybe don't use it for every project, in between projects, you can look over at it and you basically got a beautiful hand tool or a piece of artwork there to look at that it's just visually appealing.
Okay. I think there's a comment in the chat that says that there's a foxtail in the design, but we've heard that there is maybe a fox head on it. Is that true?
Fox head. So that would be this section here, correct?
Well, here, let's take a look. It'll be more of an abstract, I would think. Like, you would have to kind of look at it, and I believe John even mentioned that there's the state of Oregon, I believe, which is also something he mentioned inside the plane design. So there's a lot of things that inspired John in the concept or in the design wise. Of course, the tail is the main thing, and that's also seen on some of his older tools, which is like the HP, or I believe it was the HP-7, which was a shoulder plane, and also a CT-14, which was actually a commemorative tool of the Foxtail shoulder plane. So the predecessor to what we see now, which is the HP-10. So yeah, that's definitely a good comment there, and I will definitely if you do see a fox head in the design, then definitely let me know.
Personally, I think that this whole section right here is the outline of the fox, because you got like the two legs the body comes up, and then you've got like a nose of
Oh
the,
yeah,
of the
yeah.
fox there.
Definitely
So,
seeing that. Yep. So a little close up right here might be where you're seeing that little foxtail or fox look in the plane. So very good catch there. Any other? Let's kind of see if there's any questions in the chat. Some that we can help answer. So this is one of the questions that seems to come in from our post that we put out there before the stream. One of the questions that was asked is like, what is the major difference between the HP-10 and the HP-6FX? And I guess a difference between a shoulder or a rabbet plane, I would say. So let's kind of start with that question there. HP-10, which is this one, is versus the HP-6FX specifically. These two planes. And on the default kit, the shoulder plane is this one with a shoulder kit versus a rabbet plane, which is this one. So if you look at size comparison-wise, length-wise, the rabbet plane's a lot shorter in comparison, but in width-wise, the rabbet plane is much wider than the shoulder plane. They both have irons that come flushed up to the edge of the soles or the sides of them, but on a shoulder plane, and let's kind of talk about what a shoulder plane is that a shoulder plane should be relatively perpendicular in design, where this bottom face versus the side face is square to each other, so that you can go into a piece of wood, and when you're cutting, you get a nice sharp edge up against that when you're pushing a shoulder plane through it. A rabbet plane is used more when you are trying to cut like basically a step into a piece of wood, meaning you're making a lap or a half lap in some cases, and you need to cut like a notch or a little step into that piece of wood. And that's where a rabbet plane would be more used. It has a wider body or a wider sole, and that allows you to cover more ground than the shoulder plane.
yeah, and good point on the width, because if you had a wider plane, it would actually be a little bit more difficult to balance on a shoulder, for
Correct.
example. So having it be narrower makes it so that you actually have a bit more control, and getting it balanced and actually squared up there is going to be a lot easier.
The shoulder plane would probably be used when we're making like a tenon. We're cutting out a tenon and we're trying to clean up what a shoulder would be. If you want to grab that one piece and kind of bring it over here real quick, let's kind of show what a shoulder is for anyone who doesn't know what a tenon or a shoulder or maybe some of these terminologies. So we cut this piece out on with I think we use what
A Dozuki.
a Dozuki or a saw blade. You want to grab that Dozuki real quick.
Sure.
So we laid it out, grabbed a saw, and made our initial cut for the tenon. So we cut the cheek side, which is this right here. From there, we cut the bottom to get the shoulder, or a rough cut to get the shoulder out. And from there, we use a shoulder plane, in this case, this HP-10, to cut and make this sharp edge that you see here. And the shoulder is this portion down here versus the cheek, which is this flat surface up on the side of a tenon. This is a tenon, which will be mated up against another piece. We'll cut a square hole, basically, and we'll be fitting this in, so it would be a tenon and a mortise in this setup. Again, we just cut the tenon here just to show, or kind of showcase, what a shoulder plane should do when it's cutting. So hope that makes sense. Let's kind of set that aside for a second. But yeah, that's again, that's a very good question. Let's see, do we have any other questions?
Okay, so I see that someone asked, what do I do at Harvey? So I'm actually the customer experience manager. So we have our customer service team. Last week we had Sam on here, who's the customer service and customer experience director. And then I would be directly working under Sam. So I would be the one to, if you call in, there's a good chance that you'll actually get me on the phone if you do call our Montclair office. And I'm here to help and answer any questions that you have on any of our products. If people have any kind of technical troubleshooting type nature inquiries, I handle those as well. And then if there's something I don't know the answer to, I reach out to Hung, and Hung will kind of saved my butt there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what I do here, and I love this job. I've been with the company almost 2 years now. I come from a woodworking background. I had a picture frame molding company with my father probably about 10 years ago. He passed away, unfortunately, and then I ended up moving from the East Coast to California. So I'm actually from the East Coast, but I've been working with the company here for the last couple of years, and it's been great. Love the management team here. Everybody's really cool, and we're like a family here, so
Yeah.
everybody's really nice.
Okay. I guess there's another question from the man with the plan. What is the angle degree on the blade for the HP-10? So the bed itself is 20 degrees, and then the iron itself, so meaning the cutting angle with the iron, is actually 40 degrees. And this is for the shoulder plane. We want a relatively low angle when we're cutting on a shoulder, or in this case, we're working with end grain, so we want the attack angle to be a little lower. When we're going up higher angles, then we're working more with cutting along the grains or cutting the grains itself. Good question. So what else? Let's kind of talk about the HP-10. I believe this plane isn't quite available yet. Is that true?
Yeah, so this is a pre-order item right now. We actually haven't started shipping orders yet. We're taking pre-orders for it. I'll mention again that for this stream and until midnight tonight, we do have a code HP10 Stream if you did want to take advantage of a 10% off discount. These orders will be shipping out about October 31st, around the same time we get our Big Eye fence shipping. So I think with that shipment, we should be getting both products in and start shipping those out.
Okay. And I believe that means that by the end of, you said, when?
So October 31st, so I would think like first week of November, somewhere in that range.
Okay, so
we'll
like
start
around
shipping
November
orders
is when
out,
we'll
yeah.
probably see some of these go out. Okay, well, cool. So let's kind of talk about the HP-10. The one that you kind of see here is one that we had at the show. This is actually one of our prototypes that we made for the show. I do have another one, which actually has a different profile or a kit installed here. And so showing this one off, you'll see that this one has a round or not a flat bottom or sole. This one is actually our cove kit. So this one is a 1/2-inch diameter cove versus the one over here, which is a different profile here. This one, yeah.
Much wider crown kit.
Yep, so this is our 4.5-inch crown kit. So let's kind of show that real quick. What we were doing last night was actually cutting and kind of making different profiles. So let me grab that real quick to kind of show what a cove and kind of what a crown is. So if we were looking, so you might not be able to see this up close, but what a crown is, or what the crown kit is going to do, is create a contour or a curve on the top or along an edge of a board, kind of what you see here, which is a crown. Versus if we flip this board over actually and look on the other side, what I did was I cut a cove into this board. So, wrong iron or wrong plane.
There you go.
There we go. So on this one, what you're seeing here is that we cut a cove or a circular indentation, a half circle, into this piece of wood to demonstrate what a cove looks. So this one is a 1/2-inch cove, and this is what the cove iron is used for, versus a crown or a crown kit. And this is the back rear sole versus the front sole. And then we have the blade that would be realistically mount like so. And this is how you would cut or profile a crown on a board. The other thing that comes with these kits, or specifically the crown kit, is a actual honing rod or kind of honing guide, so that you could put diamond paste on here to help sharpen or kind of hone your iron and keep it sharp. So that's kind of what this is for.
I have a quick question
Yeah,
for you.
sure.
So as regarding for honing on these, what is the recommended diamond paste grit and like range? Because I know there's different ranges of how sharp you want to
So at the
go.
show, we actually brought some just in case we needed it, but we ended up not using it. This one is diamond paste. So what you do is, this one is 2000 grit. Again, it's honing. We're not sharpening the iron itself, we're touching it up, so honing it. When we're sharpening, we're trying to remove a lot of material. When we're honing, we're more of like trying to polish the iron so that we get a nice sharp edge on it, a fresh edge, so that we can cut or use it. So in this case, we apply paste onto it, and then kind of work the iron, again, flip the iron where the bevel side, meaning the side that you see here, flip it upside down, and then you would use this as a reference to basically hone or polish the iron. So you'd see a polish area or materials just being removed so slightly. Again, this is 2000 grit, so it's really not removing that much material. Hope that answers that question.
Yeah, and like, what's the range of grit you would recommend in general?
You could, well, in the pace-wise, they would always come on a high, grit anyway. So 2000, I believe it can go up a little further. Like honing-wise or sharpening-wise, it can go all the way up to like 8,000. But realistically, at that point, I don't think you would be using 8,000 to do this. 2,000 is usually recommended.
Okay.
So 2,000 would definitely be the range of where you should be using for a sharpening paste or a honing paste. I guess there's another question. Any plans of having dealers in Illinois looking for a cabinet saw? And I'm torn between the two Alpha series and SS?
Sawstop.
Sawstop, got it. But nowhere local to see a Harvey in person. I think we're working on expanding, but not quite yet. I hope that one day we will be in Illinois. We do have multiple table saws, ranging from 2-horse all the way up to 4-horse. So we got 2, 3, and 4.
Yep.
Our 4-horse is the one that does have a dovetail design for the trunnion system. So definitely take a look at our website if you want to, check that out. Sawstop is, a competitor brand or another company that makes table saw. And if you are not familiar with Sawstop, their technology is that they have a system or a pretty, smart design that applies like a brake and stops the blade, so that if you accidentally touch the blade by mistake, then it'll, it's a safety feature. So if, again, to kind of help, answer that question, if you're looking for a saw, a really good saw, then definitely check out the Harvey one. And if you're looking for like a safety type technology, then definitely check out the Sawstop. It's a great question, by the way, and thank you very much for that question. And right now we are expanding, but probably not going to be in the Illinois quite yet.
I know I did have a gentleman from North Carolina who had some family in San Diego, so he was able to fly over and visit and demo some saws here in our warehouse. But I know that's not the most easiest trip for everybody, unless you have plans or something that you're looking to do here. But we're not that far from Vegas, only a few hours away. So if you are that way, you could potentially swing by, or if you need to have a reason to visit us, then we're more than happy to have people come by our warehouse and set you up with an appointment. So that's currently that would be the only way to really see something in person. I know that we also do have a Facebook group. It's called the Harvey Woodworkers Owners Group on Facebook, and everybody there is very friendly, and people get excited to kind of show off their setups and everything. So I know that a lot of customers have gotten in touch with members of that group, because there's over 1,000 members, and they might throw out, introduce themselves to the group and ask, is there anybody in my area who does have any equipment that I can take a look at? And I know that a bunch of customers have gotten in touch with other customers and have visited their shops, from my experience.
Yep. And Dr. 12 Volt, thank you very much for that question. That is a great question, by the way. We are taking one more question, I believe, before the stream. What are some benefits of using a hand plane instead of a machine? That is a very good question. You can realistically use a combination of both, by the way. You're not limited to just I can only use a hand plane to do, all my work. You could, but you could also incorporate machines to also do the tasks. hand planes, kind of started before machineries even existed. So that's kind of why hand planes have been around and been around for a very, very long time. Machineries were introduced to be making things quicker or, produce something similar at a quicker pace. Machines, again, will get you into that, rough spot, and that's where you could use a hand plane or a hand tool to kind of go in and clean up some of that, roughness out. Is there a benefit of using a hand plane instead of a machine? Yes, a hand plane can produce a lot more precise or more accurate, pieces. You can, again, produce a really, really good cut on a machine, but it will require you to build jigs and a lot of fixtures to hold it and set it up and cut certain ways. Like let's say we're cutting a tenon on a machine, we kind of have to hold the block or the piece on, let's say, a table saw vertically and cut that. But on a bench, I could just clamp that piece of wood, use a saw to cut that tenon out, and then use a shoulder plane, let's say, and cut it down to what I need it to. So I can kind of go in and finish all that with a hand tool. So kind of that's where the benefits is like if you're trying to do a lot of things quickly, a machine can do it a lot quicker. But when you're doing like finishing touches or kind of making, again, that nice custom look or that nice precise work, that's where the hand plane or the hand tools in general is much more beneficial.
Yeah, there's also like a group of woodworkers that are, they want to exclusively work with their hands.
Yep.
and do things solely using as much hand tools as possible, and it's like an intimacy with yourself and the workpiece. So I know that there's kind of a following for that type of woodworking as well, where they will exclusively almost avoid certain machines just so that they can have done it all with specifically hand tools. So kind of an interesting concept.
And another one would be more of a health benefit. Hand tools produce way less dust, at least flying in the air. So like people, even like myself, who are allergic to dust, we prefer hand tools a little more, but just because it's not kicking up a lot of dust, generating like all that dust flying in the air, which we breathe. And that's where safety equipment is definitely much needed in the shop. Safety equipment such as like masks, respirators, and so forth, safety glasses and aprons and so forth to keep ourselves safe when we're working with machineries. But hand tool wise, less of that is needed.
Yeah. On that same note, I know I had one customer who liked to do a lot of woodworking, and he had like just had a baby, and it was kind of like on the next wall over from his shop type of deal. So they can be a lot quieter at the same time.
That is also true.
If you've got maybe your wife's sleeping and you're in the garage running a planer at 2 a.m. can be a little troublesome.
That is very true. A hand plane is definitely a lot quieter than a table saw running at night.
Right.
Very good comment there. One more question. Is the Foxtail just for the grip, or does it have another function? That actually is a very good question. And the design of the Foxtail itself is so it creates this ergonomic hold, so you can literally be able to push the plane or kind of push down. So the way that grips is, it's for grip mostly. It's an ergonomic design for grip. But it allows you to basically be able to get a good hold onto the actual plane itself. It is, again, if you have to hold or kind of feel the plane to see it, but the Foxtail definitely has this nice ergonomic design where you can actually hold it and get a really good, your base of the palm kind of hits the base of the tail, versus you can kind of get your index kind of in that groove channel at the top of the Foxtail, and then these actually are a little groove for your fingers as well. So what you're kind of seeing there is a pretty good hold there. From there, I can also use my front hand to kind of hold or apply downward pressure as I'm making a cut. So this is where this front portion of the plane comes in really handy for grip-wise.
Yeah, and the man with a plan, you bring up a very good point. It's not just for grip. This is actually also the clamping mechanism for your iron. So this right here comes up, and this part here actually is what applies the pressure to your iron. So when that clamps down, that would be in the lockdown position.
Yep.
And yeah, so it
if,
does double as an aesthetic as well as
a function. Yes, there is a functionality behind it. If you're not familiar with some of our Bridge City products, we do use a clamping or latch, like a link type mechanism that applies downward pressure to lock or hold our irons into place. When you lock them down, you'll hear a nice satisfying snap or a little click noise, and you'll kind of saw that with the HP-10 as well. So yeah, to answer that question, it's not only just grip, there is functionality behind it. And in this specific case, it's a lever or a locking lever for the actual clamp, to clamp down the iron itself. So again, very good question, the man with the plan. So what we kind of showed off the HP-10. I believe we should probably talk about the kit, like what it comes with if we bought an HP-10, right?
Sure.
You know, right out of the box, you get the, like we mentioned, the shoulder setup, which is the soles, the irons, and what you kind of see here. So front sole, rear sole, the iron. We also have the fence. So this is another unique feature to the actual plane. And I know that's something that we should probably talk about, because not all planes come with like a fence of some sort, but ours actually do.
Yes, tell me about how this fence works.
Yeah, so fence-wise, there are these pieces that are installed on the side of the plane, just like so, one at the front and one at the rear side of the body. So you screw these in, and then from there, you can actually attach or slide this like so, and then tighten these up. And what a fence, in this specific case, this fence, it has like a flat face here, which is what you see, is to allow you to help guide. So meaning if I had a piece of wood.
You want me to flip that over?
Sure. And if you could be so kind to hold
sure.
it. This will allow us to use the side of the board as a flat or a reference to guide us and make our cut. So if we're making a specific thickness, or we're trying to plane down a specific width, then this fence also helps us keep that or maintain that width or that accuracy on the side or the top as we're cutting down. This is also found on our HP-6 FX as well. We do have a fence for that, which is smaller. So it would be kind of this. And so when we're cutting that little step into our boards, same thing. We can attach that and use it as a guide for our side walls there.
Can you tell me a little bit about the other side, how
sure.
it's not
Okay.
flat?
So yeah. So if we, going back to the HP-10, if we remove and flip this around, attach this back into place, so slide back in, tighten those back up. Now what we did is now we can actually
maybe flip it like that.
Yeah.
Or?
So what we did is we actually created an angle. So I have to stand it up because we need more room here. But this will allow you to cant or kind of tilt your plane and now do angles or bevels onto the side or the edges of the plane. So instead of attacking it from a top down, you're now attacking it from a side. And this is a 45, so you can do a bevel on the board or the workpiece. So that's kind of, this fence actually does not only just a 90, but it can also do 45s as well, just by simply flipping the fence piece from one side to the other. Hope that answers that question.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Thank you. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna go back over that. While we're doing this live stream and all the way until midnight tonight Pacific time, we are going to be doing a promotion for this HP-10. It's going to be 10% off. We're going to have the code HP-10 stream, and we're going to be posting that in the chat. The link there should automatically apply the code for you at checkout, but if something, if you need to apply the code, you can just input HP-10 stream in, and that will get you 10% off. These are a pre-order item right now, so just be aware that these are shipping with an estimated ship date of October 31st, roughly first week of November. Probably orders will be actually shipping out and arriving to people. So if you would like to take advantage of that, that is good until 12 o'clock midnight Pacific time. So if you're on the East Coast, it might be a little bit later for you by about 3 hours, but yeah, so that code's valid until then, and that's pretty much that. The promotion. Yep.
Oh, cool. Let's kind of talk about assembling it. Let's show how to install the crown kit here, just because This will allow us to demonstrate or kind of show how it's installed or how we change out different soles or different bottoms to do different things. So in this HP-10, it's called a convertible plane. And what it means is that we can actually convert or change the sole out for different profiles. So in this case, I'm going to change it over to the 4.5-inch crown kit. So how I do that is first I have to remove the fence. So I'm going to unscrew these and set these aside real quick. And I'm going to need some tools. So let me grab some tools. But what you'll need to do is disassemble it. So I'm going to show you how to disassemble this. At the front, there is a thumb screw. If you loosen this up, the sole, or the front sole, will slide right out just as you just saw. From there, set that aside. This back sole, actually, or the rear sole, has screws. So that one is where you need a Allen or a hex key to remove that. And I will have to see if I have the right tools here. I definitely need to grab one. But you'll need to unscrew and remove, there it is, this one, and set that aside. So simply, there's 2 screws at the bottom here. Use a hex or an Allen key to unscrew that. And be careful not to lose the washers here because they do have little flat washers on there. But once you have that unscrewed, you'll loosen that up and take the rear sole out and set it aside. Keep the screws because the screws will be transferred over to the new plane or the sole kit. So the iron itself, kind of what you saw earlier with how Gabe demonstrated the functionality, you unlatch the foxtail, so lifting up the tail, the foxtail itself will loosen and release the iron, which then slides out. It is held into place. There is a little pin that holds the rear side of the iron, so lift it up and then slide it out. So take that out, set that aside. We'll get the iron in real quick. So I'll kind of set that in. It's just simply sliding it back into place and kind of holding it down for a second with the foxtail. So I'm going to latch that in and kind of hold it down for a second. And as I do that, I'm going to install now the rear side of the sole, because what I have to do at this point, I'm not going to lock it down quite yet, but I'm going to put the screws back in. And then I have to slide or kind of match up the back side of the sole up against along the back side of the iron itself as well. So let me kind of get that in there real quick. And while I do this, Gabe, do you kind of want to talk about like this sole or this crown kit real quick and kind of show what a crown is?
Yeah. Do you have that?
Yep. Let me grab that for you. Here we go.
So yeah, so this crown kit.
Yep, crown kit.
Should be used for, say you were making like a bookshelf or really anything that you want to put a nice wide round over onto it. You would get that set up, and then by shaving that off, you turn just a flat edge into now a rounded over crown. Yep. And that's essentially what it's going to do for you.
It could also be used, like if I was making like a table and I have to round off the edges of the table, I could also use this to kind of profile that, just so I don't have a sharp edge off the end of the table. I can kind of do a nice little round off edge as well. Again, this is more of what, a aesthetic look, I would say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I just got the rear sole kind of installed. I slid the rear sole up against the iron so that it mates or kind of sits against the back of the iron. When you install the iron bevel face has to be facing upward on this specific plane. And then from there, it's just latching this back down, which if you need to adjust that, there is a adjustment screw to control the amount of tension that is applied to the actual locking mechanism as well. Let me grab the correct key there and just back that up a little bit. And then if this is done correctly, it snaps right down like so.
Nice.
Yep. And then when you do lock this into place, make sure that the iron is flush up against the sides. This is, again, the irons are designed to be flush or matching with the soles themselves. So when you buy the different sole kits or the different profiling kits, they actually have irons that match each of the soles. So don't mix up your shoulder plane one with your crown kit one. It wouldn't make sense. So make sure all the kits are kept together, or and not mix them up. From there, it's just installing the front sole back into place and then locking it with the thumb screw, what you see here, and you can control the opening or the mouth of it by simply sliding it outwards or inwards.
Yeah, and how much of a gap do you want to put there? Like, is it just a tiny little bit, or
a tiny bit? Yeah. So one thing you do need to know about shoulder planes is that they're removing very little material. It's usually, again, the finishing touches. So you'll profile, it down, kind of get the shape. In this case, you can do it with the mouth set relatively, small, and then you can back the iron up, control. So on the actual mechanism, there is a thumb screw back here, and this actually pulls or retracts and advances the iron back or forward so that you can control the depth of the cut. The other thing is, if you ever have a bunch of collection of different soles and profiles and so forth, if you ever take a look on each of these, they actually do have labelings as well. So look carefully on each of them. They are labeled. So this one is a 4.5-inch crown sole kit. This is the rear, this is the front, and then of course the iron. So if you ever confuse or don't see them, take a look at each of the irons in the kits. They all are labeled as well. So
yeah. The irons actually have labeling right on the
spine or the stem of the iron. So right along at the top here. Yep. Yeah. So now that you install the rear, you've got the iron into place, you've installed the front sole, you tension and snap the foxtail down so that you latch the iron into place, you're pretty much ready to go. At this point, you would start tensioning or kind of adjust your iron to make sure that your cut is nice and smooth, not too aggressive. So this is where you would have to back up the iron. In this specific case, I have it quite aggressive, so I would have to back this up. So it's just a matter of turning this thumb screw on the rear side near the tail and back that iron up so that it makes gradual cuts, not too aggressive in this case.
And what's the problem with making too aggressive of a cut?
So in this specific case, we're cutting along the grain pattern. And if it's too aggressive, it's going to try to grab too much. We want nice, we're removing material little at a time, not too aggressive in this case. We don't want to tear grain out.
Sure.
And also, this is walnut, so this one sometimes will have different grain patterns. We also have knots as well, so if it's too aggressive, we'll dig into a knot and tear out knots. So I usually, when I set up this for the shoulder, in this specific case, when I set up for this, to set up this crown, I had the iron doing very gradual cuts.
And isn't there a difference in the angle of attack for the crown kit versus the shoulder kit?
The crown versus the shoulders, not specifically on this one,
okay,
because this one, the bed itself is a 20 degrees. The iron itself has a profile, so it is a different angle. But what you're referring to is the HP-6 FX.
Gotcha.
So on this one, the 6FX, which is a rabbit plane here on this specific setup, the iron itself isn't facing beveled up. It's actually facing beveled down. And what that means is bevel is referring to this little angle or this little cut on the iron. So bevel up is where this side is facing upwards versus on the HP-6 FX, the bevel is facing down. So on this one specifically, our cutting angle is much higher. And I want to say that's a 55-degree cutting angle, which is less aggressive. So if we're cutting with like hardwoods, you want a more higher cutting angle so that it removes, at a higher angle, you're more doing a scraping or closer to a scraping action rather than a cutting action.
So I'd assume that helps prevent tear out.
Correct, exactly that. So when you're cutting at a higher angle, you're less likely to tear, but on low angles, you're more likely to tear, which is what our shoulder plane is doing, because on shoulder planes, we need to be working mainly with end grain, so the end of the grain of wood. And when we're working with end grain, we want to be attacking at a lower angle rather than too high, because then we'll be scraping the grains and tearing the grain at that point.
So shearing instead of scraping.
Exactly. So that is how you would do a quick install of the crown kit in this specific case. Let's kind of move on. Do we have any questions or anything that we can? Any more questions that came in? Okay, there's the question. What are the difference between a cove cut and a crown cut, and can we explain, what is the application? So I think we already briefly kind of talked about it. A crown is what you kind of saw here. It is a curve, or what's the best word for that?
It's basically like a rounded top.
Yes.
It's like a crown. How a crown has the old-fashioned crowns back in the day would have these round, almost clover shapes to them. So it would be something where you're putting a nice round convex edge onto it. Yeah.
And a cove, on the other hand, is actually digging into a material, creating a concave, or a
kind of
cut,
scooping out the wood.
Yeah. And I believe you mentioned that some people might even call it a scoop, I believe.
Yeah. So I mean, coming from a picture frame molding background, I know that we would have the term scoop. I mean, we called it coves, but we would also call them scoop moldings.
Yeah. And if you ever look at the irons for the HP-10, the cove kit specifically, so if you took the iron out, it does look like a scoop.
It literally looks like a scoop.
And let me kind of show that off real quick. So again, remove the front sole, set that aside, and from there you can kind of take the iron out. And if you look at this iron itself, it kind of looks like a spoon or a little scoop here. And what it's doing is it's literally, like what you were saying, it's scooping out wood and creating this cove, or this little indentation into a piece of wood in this case. Versus on a crown kit, we are actually making a curve on the edges of the wood.
Yeah, and a lot of this comes into play also with not just like certain finishes, but if you're doing gilding, or say you're doing like picture frames or gilding something, the shape of the underlying wood is going to reflect light differently when you actually put some sort of like a metal finish on it. So having something that is more coved out will kind of reflect that light a lot differently than your crown. So getting a balance of the two on a workpiece can be really cool, especially if you do end up like gilding it or putting a finish on it. Even some clear finishes will kind of bounce the light off of it differently, and it just looks really pretty. So
okay. And the second part of that question was like, what is the application, or what's the purpose, I guess, of doing a crown or a cove? And realistically, it's an aesthetic kind of look to it. It's not, again, it's the functionality is you're removing the edges off of it, of course, but realistically, you're creating a contour edge so that it looks appealing. It's an aesthetic. Like you were saying, framing-wise, you're cutting coves and crowns so that you can do a nice portrait frame.
Man with the plan, is there a groove kit?
So groove kit is actually not available yet. I believe that we will be introducing more kits to the HP-10. If you take a look at the HP-6FX, actually, on the other hand, we do include groove kits. So on the HP-6FX, there's like 14 variations of like diameter, radius, crowns, meaning you're creating full sweeps versus like just one edge as well, which is a radius versus a diameter crown. We do have groove kits. We have like V grooves, which is again like 90 degrees.
We have a 60 and a 90, I believe.
Yeah, 60 and a 90. And then this, of course, is our rabbit plane. So yeah, take a look at our HP-6FX. We can definitely do another video kind of talking more about this one in detail. If anyone wants to see that, definitely mention that in the chat, or let us know, and we can definitely do that in later streams. Is there any other questions? Oh, there's a good question. Are the irons on the HP-7 and the CT-14 compatible with the newer HP-10? So if anyone's not familiar, the HP-7 and the CT-14s were older shoulder planes introduced back in the day by John Economaki. Those planes, you can actually use the irons and the soles from our newer kits, and they are compatible with the older ones as well. So if you do need replacements or parts-wise, you can definitely order ours and fit it into the HP-7 and the CT-14. So very good question, by the way. Let's do a couple more questions here. Is it easy to repair should a part become damaged? If something is damaged, or if you happen to, let's say, chip the iron, so let's say the crown kit here, the soles, very unlikely to damage them, but most commonly, or what could happen, is you chip the iron. So if the iron chips, one thing you could do is, try to reprofile it or sharpen it. But again, if you see this iron, it's a very unique design, and it can be relatively hard to, sharpen. If that is the case, then, reach out to us, and, you'd get, a hold of like Gabe and the customer service team.
So these products are covered under a 1-year warranty. So if something is behaving, abnormally, and there's something that you want to have addressed, please just give us a call, send us an email. Our email is info@harveywoodworking.com. So there's a good chance I might even be the one to get your email if you email in, and I'll be more than happy to. We want to take care of our customers as best as we possibly can, and if it's something where something's just performing not the way it should be, then we'll make sure to get you taken care of.
Yeah. And if not only if you just need service or parts, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. So we definitely will be more than happy to help answer any of the questions. Again, we're here to show, not only sell or sell planes or tools. We also want to educate or help provide tricks, tips, and so forth. And this is kind of what the purpose of the stream is for. So again, I hope, thank you very much for everyone for tuning in to the stream, thus far. And I hope everything is, you guys enjoy these contents, because if you do, please, like and subscribe our channel and help support our channel, because this is what helps, us to continue to make these great content. And so, yeah, again, reach out to us if there's any questions, or you want to know more about some of our products, or in general about like some of these woodworkings. Drop comments and talk about this in the chat, and let us know. We'd be more than happy to see some of these things and kind of talk about more of these tools and different things that we can do with these tools. So, any other questions? Let's see. Okay. Joseph, you want to read that, Gabe?
Oh. Awesome sale. Was eyeing up the UG1 the other day. We'll definitely pull the trigger on it at that price, along with the KM2 TM1. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, if you have any questions, or we also do custom quotes. So if you want to reach out to us, during a sale or after a sale, and see what we can do for you there, more than welcome to reach out to us.
There's another question. What is the HP-10 made out of, or what material is it? To answer that question, this HP-10 is made out of completely stainless steel. It is a very heavy plane. If you're holding it, it's got some weight to it. We skeletonized it just to reduce some of the weight and kind of give you this nice profile look and make it more ergonomic. But yeah, fully made out of stainless steel. Does the material, enhance or affect usage-wise? Yes, on a plane you want some weight to it, but in the shoulder plane, not too much, because you're again going in to make some detailed cuts. You want it to be some weight, but not too, too heavy. And I hope that answers that question there. Any other questions? Because I believe we're running out of time, and we're coming closer towards the end of the stream.
How does one hone the iron? Difference between, we covered this a little bit at the beginning, but I don't know if you want to just go over it one more time.
Sure. So on the shoulder plane, so the iron on a shoulder plane, you would just use a honing block or stone to sharpen it, because the edge itself is only a flat. Versus on like a crown kit, the profile of itself, you would use a honing guide along with diamond paste. So something like this to actually just sharpen or polish, hone in this case, the iron. So you flip the bevel side face down, apply some diamond paste onto this honing guide or rod, and then from there hone the iron. So I hope that answers that question there.
Yeah, and we mentioned earlier that the diamond paste that we were using is a 2000 grit. You can go higher depending on your needs. If you want to make it super, super sharp, I think for certain more trickier woods, you go up a slightly higher grit, right? Or
Sorry, what was the question?
for like, as far as the grit, is there a time when you would want to use like a higher grit diamond paste versus a lower
So
grit?
the higher the grit, the more polish or the more polished the iron will be. When you're sharpening or honing, you start usually if it's the iron's relatively damaged, you would start with a low grit, meaning a rougher or more coarse grit, and then kind of profile or shape the iron. From there, you gradually work your way up to a higher number, which means it's more fine or extra fine in some cases. And at that point, what you're doing is you're just polishing the iron. So what you're doing is you're actually creating a polished look to it, and you're removing all the roughness that was, again, applied at the lower grit. It doesn't apply to types of woods. It's more of how sharp your iron can get with the higher grits.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, you want your irons to be sharp if you're working with end grain, so that's a very good question, by the way. On end grains, again, you are working or attacking grain that is kind of pointing upwards or in an up direction. And end grain-wise can very easily chip or tear. So you want an iron that is very sharp when you're working with end grain. So that's something you do have to take note if you are working with end grain specifically, specifically on like a shoulder plane. Yeah.
And as far as like the types of woods that you would want to be using some of these profiling ones on, we were doing it last night with walnut and some maple. It will be more challenging with some of those more difficult grains and just harder woods in general. If you want to have it be a lot easier, maybe go with like a softer wood, like a poplar or some basswood's a great option. So I personally am a huge fan of basswood. That's what we used to work with a lot doing for gilding. So.
Parking Lot X has a question, which is, can you use this on IKEA furniture?
Sure, why not?
Yes, if you get your IKEA furniture and it doesn't look how you like, just pull out the hand plane and profile it and put a new profile on it.
Maybe I'll do that. I just got a new apartment.
Well, there you go.
Maybe I'll get some IKEA furniture.
Be careful,
borrow
though.
one of these.
Yeah. Be careful though, because some of the IKEA furniture itself is particle boards and so forth. So you don't want to cut particle board. But if it's like like layered plywoods and so forth, yeah, you could realistically cut into those and kind of profile those. Again, this is a profile kit, so you could realistically buy IKEA furniture and then use a really high expensive plane to do this. But
that's a good question.
Maybe we should do a video on that next time.
Oh man, planing IKEA stuff.
More questions. How does one hone the iron? I think we kind of talked about that. Any differences in the honing kits, I guess? So yeah, if you bought different, like in this specific case, the crowns themselves have different widths. So each of the matching honing guides themselves or honing rods will match the profile of what the kit or sole profile is. So each of the crown kits will come with its own different set.
Does the Cove one come with?
Yes.
Okay.
It does have one as well.
It does. Okay. All right.
And what is the other question? Can the HP-10 help make dovetail joints? What other joints can the HP-10 make? So currently, our kits can do. We have rabbit kits, which is to cut out rabbits on a piece of wood. It also has what you just saw, which is a crown profile, and then we also have cove profiles. We currently do not have a dovetail one. So if you look at the HP6FX, we do offer a dado
in different sizes.
In different sizes as well. Yeah. So you can do some of the things, but not dovetail. Not quite yet. I know there is talk about doing something like that down the line, but not quite yet at the moment.
So parking lots also had a great question. Do all the extensions come with the plane? Maybe we can just go over like what exactly comes with the plane. I know we mentioned it earlier.
Sure.
But you
Okay.
get a shoulder kit.
Yeah.
Correct?
So the HP-10 would, of course, come with the body itself, the front and rear sole, and as well as the iron, which I seem to place right here, and that is the shoulder kit itself that comes with the HP-10. You'll also get the fence to help guide you, along with the piece for mounting it. The crown kits themselves are separate. So if you look on our website, these are actually separate accessories that you can buy for your HP-10.
Yeah, and for the code promotion for the stream that ends at midnight tonight, that HP-10 stream code is also applicable towards the different kits that we have available. So if you did want to get 10% off those as well, then you would just add those to the cart. And thank you guys for all the comments and the questions.
There's a good question. If you could pick one hand plane as your first purchase, what would you suggest? Possibly a jack of all trades type plane, and this is coming from Brown Dog Builds. That's a very good question. I think we kind of discussed this at the beginning of the stream.
If it was me, I'd probably go with the HP 6FX.
Oh yeah,
just
because
it's so versatile.
Yeah, this one is a mini multi-plane, so this one has different interchangeable soles similar to the HP-10, and it can do a lot of different profiles. The bevel is again bevel face down, so the angle is a much higher attack angle, 55-degree angle, versus on our HP-10 it's a 40-degree cutting angle.
Yeah.
So with that, you can actually cover or attack a lot of different types of wood grain and not get tear outs and so forth.
Right.
Has different profiles, so you can do a lot of different things. If I had, like you said, or the question asked, if we had to pick one hand tool, the HP 6FX would be a pretty good tool. If I'm trying to remove a lot of material, meaning I'm trying to flatten or remove a lot of material at a time, this might take a while.
Yeah,
which is
that's true.
Which is where a bench plane would also be a pretty good pick. Again, when we're working with, as a beginner or someone, trying to learn woodworking and using hand planes, it might be better to, work with a plane that can, again, flatten or get you a good flat work surface. Again, sometimes we might not have a joiner or a planer, and this is where a bench plane might come in really handy to have.
You know what I typically see kind of, I know a lot of people on a budget will go with our mini block plane.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was just on sale, I believe, for $59.
Yeah.
And that's a great option if you are working with some kind of tighter, smaller areas.
Or not even that. If I'm going in, I'll carry a mini block plane on me, and if I'm doing something let's say even on a table saw, and I get a nice rough edge, I can use the mini block plane just to kind of clean up some of the work or the burrs and so forth, just to get a nice clean surface. The mini block plane is definitely another nice hand tool to have, again, at a very good price. You can definitely pick one up and have it available and ready to use.
They're really cool Christmas gifts. Just saying.
Yeah.
I know they're stocking stuffer size, so you can fit one of these in, of course, but might weigh down the whole stock.
Yeah. We'll probably have to grab one and kind of show on the next one, our mini block plane, the HP-8, and kind of talk more about planes. So if you guys want to see all the planes that we have available for Bridge City at the moment, then definitely let us know. We can definitely incorporate that in future streams.
That one's included with the Chopstick Master. So if you want to kind of get a 2-for-1 almost in a sense, you could go with the Chopstick Master 1 or 2, and they both actually include HP-8 mini block plane. So.
Any other questions? Oh yeah, there's one. Are there any special bundles for the HP-10? At the moment, we aren't doing bundles. We are doing a promo, so definitely if you've been watching the streams, we are doing promos. Bundle-wise, we aren't selling all the kits as a bundle, but if you do purchase our planes, reach out to us. We can definitely see if we can put together a good pricing for that.
Sometimes we do promos where it's you buy 1 or 2 planes, you get a special price on both of them. So it kind of changes. I know our marketing department, they're trying to always keep us here in customer service on our toes, So we, just so you guys are aware, we don't know about promotions until the day that they're released. So we
here's one promo that we're doing for
except
the stream.
for this
one.
The
you
ones
want to talk about that one? Yeah.
Yeah, the 10% off HP-10 code, HP-10 stream. That's something that we had set up ourselves, but generally our marketing department, if I know we get asked a lot, like, do you guys know like pricing in advance, that type of stuff? The answer would be no. So I check my email every morning for what's going on with those and kind of find out with everybody else. So
cool. We're getting pretty close to the end of the streams. Let's take a couple more questions here. What are some tricks or tips for in maintaining or upkeep of the plane, and how, sharpening and storing the plane away after you're done using? That's a very good question, by the way, whoever asked that question. This is, of course, a stainless steel plane, so there's not quite that much of an upkeep. Again, stainless is, again, not going to rust unless if you put it under the right circumstances. So, don't drop this in the ocean and store it in the ocean kind of thing. It'll definitely, corrode and oxidize over time. But, when you are using it, wipe it down after use, blow off all the dust and debris that is built up on the plane, and clean it. For the irons itself, it is a tool steel, so that will actually rust. So remove the irons and clean that, oil it, and wax it or use like a grease to pack it away if you are storing it for long periods. The body and the soles themselves are again made of stainless steel in this specific case. So again, wipe them down and make sure that they're clean.
Now, what if something did get wet? Would you use like a WD-40 on it to
Yeah.
just kind of go water dispersant?
Just to kind of, you can kind of wipe it down with like a WD-40 or kind of clean it. Again, make sure everything, you can use air to kind of blow out any water if there is water that came into contact with the plane itself. For like storing it away, again, store it into a dry environment. Make sure it's not a humid environment where rust can happen or occur. Especially with the irons themselves, because the irons themselves are made of tool steel. So this is one that can rust. So the planes themselves, the body and the soles, are definitely very low maintenance, but the irons definitely are something that you do have to maintain or store away properly.
So I see a question. How does our shoulder plane compare to other shoulder planes on the market?
That's a very good question. So there are a couple other companies that make shoulder planes. Again, they make specifically hand tools and so forth. Again, it depends on what you are on a budget for too. That's something that a lot of people have to take into consideration. Price point wise, you can go with a very low end or budget shoulder plane, and that will get the job done. It might not be the prettiest or it might not be the most precise, but it again can get a shoulder cut and can perform the task. Again, there's a huge price range at that point. When you start working your way up, you're going to be looking for, again, different aesthetics, different builds, weight-wise, quality-wise. Our shoulder plane, again, is a full stainless steel plane, as you can kind of see here. The shoulders themselves and everything are machined. And so these are very, very precise kits. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get, you'll see the weight, the aesthetics, the feel of it is a very nice plane, or a really high quality.
Would you say that the quality of a tool definitely influences the quality of the work outcome?
Yes and no. If you're good at your craft, then you can use any tool to do it. But a high-end tool definitely will make it easier for you to get some of those nice.
And it's a learning experience when you're working with any tool, of course. So it's
correct.
Like you could have the best tool but be the worst woodworker, kind of like
me.
No, I'm just kidding. Joke.
But yeah, the price or the tool again will help you. And in this case, you can buy a really expensive tool, and it'll help you produce things easier. Again, people buying professional equipment, sometimes as a hobbyist, you do it to, again, enjoy the tool or enjoy the work. Yeah. You don't want to fight the tool, or be always trying to fight the tool to do the correct task. Again, each tool, again, has its different functionality and so forth, and the price point will vary. So again, that could reflect into the quality or some of the aesthetics as well. So there's a lot of variables there that could affect your price point and what you buy or pick. What other questions do we have? How does the HP-10 enhance the overall woodworking experience for beginning woodworkers compared to more experienced woodworkers? Ooh, that's a very good question. For experienced woodworkers, if you are, again, making a lot of different profiles, different shapes, this HP-10 might be very useful for an experienced woodworker because you're going to be making a lot of those trims, profiles, and so forth on, let's say, benches, tables, and so forth, where you're making edges. Like I know you were talking about, picture frame moldings and so forth, where you're making portraits or something, where you need to go in and do those edges.
Yep.
That's where crowning kits and cove kits will come in really handy. So for experienced woodworker, this tool would be very convenient to have. From a beginner standpoint wise, you might not be quite there yet. So it's like one of those things where it might be not necessary until later when you get into those types of tasks, because this is a very niche tool for the very niche application.
Right.
So I think it will be more useful for the experienced woodworkers, but maybe not as much for a beginning woodworker. Again, it's a great tool. It can definitely teach you how to do those things. It'll make it easier to do some of those things, but it might not be necessary, especially if you're on a budget and you're starting off woodworking. Then you might be using that money to buy other equipment that you need more so than let's say the HP-10.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And did we have any other questions?
Yeah, let's see if there's any other questions. But I think we are okay. Let's kind of do a quick recap of the stream real quick and kind of talk about what we discussed so far. Again, thank you very much for everyone for tuning into our stream.
Thank you very much.
We hope you are enjoying what we are doing. If you want to help support us, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and continue to check us out. We do these streams every Thursday at noon. Pacific time. So please come check us out. If you want to see anything specific, drop a comment, let us know what you want to see, and we'll definitely feature it in our later streams. And again, we'll be enjoying, and we love to talk about some of the tools and teach and show different woodworking, and explain woodworking. In this specific stream today, we were talking about the HP-10, which is kind of what you see. Well, not these, these here on the stream. We kind of talked about the different types of what the HP-10 comes with, which is a shoulder plane. We also talked about the accessory kits, which is a cove versus a crown. We talked what a crown and what a cove is, and we kind of talked about how to hone or kind of sharpen a iron if it does wear out over time. Talked about what it includes in a box for an HP-10. I think right now the HP-10 is not even available, so it's coming out towards the end of the year, I believe.
October 31st.
Okay.
So it'll be ready for the holiday season, but right now we're having an estimated ship date of October 31st. If you would want to take advantage of today's live stream promo, you can get 10% off the HP-10 and the different kits that are available for it currently, and that would be with code HP-10 stream. And then we'll also have some links in the chat there. If you cut and paste those links, it should automatically apply the code for you, but you can of course apply that code separately.
And I believe that code's only good for today, right?
Only good for today.
Okay.
So at midnight tonight Pacific time, that code's going to be done. I know that sometimes we do get people, kind of the next day or a week later, or somebody who might see the stream, but yeah, it would just be for today. Thank you guys so much for coming by, spending some time with us today. All the people who commented and engaged with us in the chat, you guys are awesome. And if there's anything that you guys want to see on any of our future streams, feel free to shoot us an email. You can also email us at info@harveywoodworking if you didn't have a chance to make it to us today.
Or if you're watching this video, again, like I said, drop a comment in that stream.
Yeah, drop a comment.
Yeah, again, subscribe to our channel, and that's the best way you can support us. Like the video that you just saw, or if you're watching it right now, definitely like our video. Again, this is something that we just wanted, kind of started. If you haven't seen some of our previous streams, definitely check out our last week's streams. We talked about the MG36 miter gauge, and kind of talked in general about what a miter gauge is. So definitely, if you haven't seen last week's stream, definitely take a look at those, or check out some of our other videos as well on our channel. Again, we hope that this stream is useful and helpful to everyone who's watching it. Feel free to again share share your knowledge, share the stream, kind of teach people, and again build a community and get people more into woodworking, because woodworking is one of those arts or like crafts that is hands-on.
People.
Yeah, it brings people together, and people use furnitures and tables and benches all the time, but none of us would even think about building one before. So it's like woodworking is definitely an exciting hobby or even a profession.
We actually have some cubicles we're going to be building.
Oh yeah. So, hey, don't spoil that one yet.
Oh.
That's a video for later. Yeah. So keep an eye out. There will be some other videos and contents that we'll be putting out there. Nothing about cubicles, by the way, but yeah. But yeah, with that, we're coming towards the end of the streams. If there's any other questions, we'll take a couple more questions if we can. If not, then yeah, again, thank you very much for enjoying. I hope this stream was helpful. I hope you guys enjoy these stream. Again, we'll be doing this every Thursday at noontime Pacific, so tune in. It's on our YouTube channel. Go to our YouTube and click on the live section. You'll see our stream. Go there and check it out. If you want to see anything specific, again, like I mentioned, drop a comment, post that, let us know, reach out to us, let us know, and we can definitely do something in our later streams. And if there's anything unique or some crazy ideas that you want to see, let us know. That's what we're here to do. Oh, the Shack. Hey, another good show, huh? Yeah. Again, I hope you guys enjoy. We again thank you very much for supporting us and coming and watching our stream. And I will we'll see you in the next stream. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. So come check us out next week, Thursday, noontime Pacific, and have a good one, everyone. See you next one.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.